County Council at Cecil County Legislative Session Day, Tuesday, December 18th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You can speak. It's not everybody but the Marines can do it. The Marine Commandant said.
Members of the Council, you have before you approval of the minutes of the December 4th, 2012 Council meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Seconded.
I have a first and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Approved unanimously. Council comments. We'll start with Councilman McCarthy.
No comments.
Councilman Hodge.
I'll just welcome everyone. I appreciate your attending your county government in action. So thanks for coming, and I hope to see you on a frequent basis. Thank you.
Councilman Dunn.
Sure, same thing here, welcome, thanks for coming, and I think this is our last meeting before the holidays, so Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Councilwoman Brumell.
Well, good evening. I just wanted to reiterate what I had mentioned this morning at the work session meeting, that I have proposed a compromise, a coming together of at least consideration of names that the Republican Central Committee has put forward. And I would at least like us to hold a special meeting to consider those names and give it an up or down vote. I understand the disparity between the council and the process we're to follow. It's my conviction that the party switch from our county executive was not correct, and I have to keep all my options open, in that we would have the option, or someone would have the option to challenge that at some time forth. So the correct process, we believe, is to move forward with the Republican Central Committee names, and they were elected by the voters with express duty to fill the vacancies. Ms. Moore ran on the Republican ticket. She was elected on the Republican ticket, and when it was convenient, she changed her party to try and control, in my opinion, the appointment to the board, so she could ultimately control the legislative branch as well as the executive. So I appreciate the discussion me and Councilman McCarthy had. He is willing to at least review the resumes, and I just hope that we can come to an agreement to have a meeting to at least give an up or down vote to those names. And I also wanted to bring to your attention, there was a meeting on enhanced use lease project in Perry Point. I'm concerned that this project could have some negative ramifications. If this is for a exclusive veteran housing only, that would be fine without using project-based vouchers. But this needs to be accepted with the community involvement, and that we would have checks and balances on how this is going to affect our community, that we would have direct input. So please keep your eyes open on further meetings on this project. We need the public involved. Thank you for coming this evening.
Next on the agenda is public comment. If someone could bring up that list, I would certainly appreciate it. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes to address the council. I'm going to ask that you please refrain from making any comments during the speaker's time at the podium. I will leave it up to the discretion of the council as to whether they wish to address the speaker on any of the topics that they have discussed. First for public comment is Joe Carabetta. Would you please state your name and your address for the record before you start to speak? Thank you.
Give you some request document. Robert, you want to give it?
Good evening, Joe Carabetta, 1611 Carpenters Point Road, Berryville, Maryland. First of all, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and if you celebrate other religions, Happy Holidays. First order of business is old business or unfinished business from the last meeting when I was here. We addressed the issue of the very unsafe condition which has been created by the addition of the guardrails on Route 40. I prepared a draft letter, and it is draft. It'll need some formatting to your county standards, but it reflects the issue and it reflects the problem that's been created, a very serious safety problem that I asked you to address to the State Highway Administration. So that takes care of that business. The second order of business is to discuss the ongoing conversation about filling the unfilled council seat that's led to much consternation in the county. First of all, I think what Mrs. Moore did was wrong. It was not the intent of the charter. That charter provision was written for somebody who becomes ill or commits a crime or something like that. It was not intended to play political games with and is a total disrespect to the Republican voters in this county, who she used their brand to get elected, and she was supported by Republicans, including this one standing in front of you. As you all know, I'm a member of the Republican Central Committee. We followed through on the process that was in the charter, exactly like it was within the time frames, and 3 names have been submitted to you. I would like to explain that process, what was followed. We advertised it. We developed a process. The process was open to the public when we talked about it. We advertised. We held interviews. The interviews the questions were developed kind of independently, but the same question was asked of all, the same 4 questions were asked of all candidates. There was 9 candidates came forward. 9 candidates came forward. We even then decided, because of the deal that Mrs. Moore pulled, we extended the period of time additional days because we felt that some of the public may have been confused. There was 2 articles were put in there was an article in each of the papers in the county, the Whig and the Guardian. There was some confusion at the end of the article. It said to submit the resumes to the council, and one of the questions I had was, how many resumes have you got? My understanding is 2 or 3 in writing. We had 9. We held the thing. The same questions were asked of the persons. One of the candidates is also a member of the Central Committee. He did not participate in the vote. He was not in the room when it was done, and he was interviewed just like the other candidates. The votes were sent in independently to one member of the committee who developed a spreadsheet, and we were each allowed 3 votes. We could vote the top 3 or the 3 votes. Those names have come forward. Now today I hear, as I was able to listen to the transcript of the voice recording, I was very disappointed that a member of the council came out and said that the Central Committee basically didn't do a good job or didn't send in qualified people. That is disturbing, because at least one of those people is here tonight and handles a budget for this very council of over $60 million in money. So how is that person not qualified? The other 2 names, although they may be political opponents as ideology, they're still fellow Republicans, and they are very qualified. One holds a PhD and works for a major corporation. The other one has his own business in the county. So to say that it was not qualified, one of the questions I have, I keep hearing this term, best qualified. What exactly is that criteria? What is the criteria that you use for best qualified? Is it someone that agrees with every position? Or or does exactly in lockstep. I don't know what this means. I'd like to see it delineated, what is best qualified. If someone's a businessman, we've got a doctor, a businessman, a businesswoman, and Mike Dunn's experience with other stuff. So, you know, we sent you 3 names. We asked that you act on those 3 names, up or down, give the folks a fair vote, and let it be from there. But we ask that you follow the procedure, not be hoodwinked by what Mrs. Moore did in her procedure to circumvent the procedure.
Thank you. Al, reason?
Alreasin, 632 Conowingo Road, Conowingo. At a previous meeting, when there was discussion about the appointment of Mr. Al Wine, one of the council individuals indicated that they had discussed with a board member, ethics board member, the form that Mr. Wine had to fill out. I find that unethical, and this is not the first time it has happened, but unfortunately, it is not unethical in the county code. That is why I said previously that the county code does not guarantee honesty. Since the board is to remain neutral, as the chairperson has said in public meetings, any future request for private conversation should be denied by the chairperson or any other member of the board. The chairperson seemingly is a good friend of this particular council person, but that is not an excuse for private conversations. If information is needed for the council's decision-making, the chairperson should have testified before the board in public. Actually, I and others have overheard and find the attendance of board members at the public meetings and numerous private conversation observed in public areas of the administration building between one particular member of the board and one of the council people is beyond the pale. Such actions undermine the supposed neutrality of the ethics board. I suggest that if the board members, the ethics board members, for the good of the ethics board and transparency, are not able to refrain from such contact, that they resign from the ethics board. Additionally, if the ethics board, and this may be even more important, continue this practice, and they have findings in a case, they could be challenged because of the appearance of bias. Thank you, and have a Merry Christmas.
Mr. Wine, or Mr. Reason, can I ask you a question?
If you wish.
The seeking of further information as to what disclosure form Mr. Wine was supposed to fill out, you felt I shouldn't have asked that information?
Well, you didn't accept, if my memory is correct, what the county attorney said and what Mr. Wine presented, and indicated that someone else, being the chairman of the ethics board, had indicated that there was a different position. Now, in my opinion, that individual, if you were using that person to go against what the lawyer said, the attorney, that person should have been here in public, not a private conversation. We don't know what occurred in that private conversation. That's my understanding from the way that you presented it. It was a private conversation.
Okay, Mr. Reese, you're jumping to a lot of conclusions. I was asking for information as to where else would I go to find out what form he was supposed to fill out.
You have an attorney.
Yes, and he was wrong again.
On your opinion. I have my opinion, you have your opinion. The attorney, who is supposedly more learned than either one of us, had an opinion. That's why we hired you.
Yes, Mr. Reason, but once again, he was wrong. And Mr. Wine, as he acknowledged, he is supposed to fill out the Form 1, because we had passed in September new requirements for directors. Now, he is correct. He is not required to turn in that form according to the code. However, we do have an ethics commissioned the board. They sent it to us, you might not be aware of this. They said, because this is a new process for confirmation, it's perfectly reasonable to request that disclosure form in advance. And I do believe that's one of the criteria that we should be reviewing. Not everybody on this board believes that, but I do.
Nor does
So,
your council.
I would suggest that you not jump to conclusions, but to at least, you can come to me and ask why I was seeking this information before you assume.
Yes, sir.
Just one thing, just interject one thing. I think that if in the future opinions are wanted from the ethics committee, it probably should seek to be done in writing and submitted by the ethics commission to you as compared to interjecting and talking between members and yourself. My opinion.
Your opinion, thank you.
And mine. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Diane Carabetta.
Diane Carabetta, 1611 Carpenters Point Road, Perryville, Maryland. First, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I would like to thank the Perryville Rescue who came to get me when I was going over the fish a couple weeks ago. While what Terry did was legal, it was unethical. And her inability to collaborate with other people is legendary. To simply switch parties because you hate other Republicans is pretty crazy when you're in a position of leadership. So I would ask the council to please set up a special meeting. You've had advertising in 2 papers that had asked people to submit their names. Anyone truly interested would have taken the initiative and got their name into you, as requested in the papers. And I hope to God, Andy Harris, when he told me at the convention Friday night, November 30th, that the person had already been picked, that I would like the person, and that the person didn't plan to run again, he was sadly mistaken. And I hope that you will pick someone good. Maybe, I'm sure I will like the person, and maybe they won't run again. And then, I wasn't at work on the 6th, that was the day I was going to the fish. And Chris Meekins from Andy Harris's office had left me a message. Oh, please, we want to clarify that Andy Harris did not say that someone had been picked, and my husband said he did. He was standing there next to me and heard the same conversation. But in fact, that 4 or 5 names had been bantered about, and of those 4 or 5 names, someone would be selected, and they would be Republican. So now to hear that no names have been bantered around, no names have been considered, and that there's 100 applicants, I listened to the recording today, it's a little perplexing. On another subject, I got most respect for DeEtte Williams Devine and the school board, and I am wondering what is going on with the goal to get the 150 kids educated. I know that the executive is in favor of Batesville, and I'm wondering what other considerations are being given. And then I am also proposing that we put together a petition to have the county exec and county council run as nonpartisan election in 4 years. That way, a person is based on their merits, not their party, and hopefully we can get better qualified people in position of leadership. And that'll do away with party, and that hopefully will do away with all the fighting we've been having and the inability to get along. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Next, Michael Dawson.
Michael W. Dawson, 713 Concord Point Drive, Perryville. Good evening. At last week's work session, both Councilman Dunn and Councilwoman Dormel stated that they wanted an explanation as to why the Cecil County Republican Central Committee had been denied their exclusive participation in the vacancy appointment process. I would like to offer some thoughts on their request. But first, I'd like to correct an inherent flaw in their questioning. A more appropriate question would rather be, why did the Cecil County Republican Central Committee forfeit the charter's gift of exclusive access to the vacancy appointment process? Things are not always as they appear. In the next few moments, I'd like to pull back the curtain and introduce a perspective on the move by County Executive Moore to change her voter registration status to unaffiliated prior to her resignation from the council that has yet to be explored. Contrary to what has been generally accepted and reported in the press until now, I assert that the Cecil County Republican Central Committee, by its own constitution and bylaws, lacks any provision or authority to carry out the role it has been allotted in aiding the county to fill the vacancy in office, and therefore could not have duly executed any advisement on the filling of the council vacancy. I contend that if County Executive Moore had not so courageously unaffiliated, the ensuing vacancy appointment process, as spelled out in the charter, would have created a veritable constitutional crisis. As the hue and cry surrounding Moore's decision to unaffiliate continues to be the topic of regional talk radio shows, internet blogs, and forum posts, and inside politics on both the Democrat and Republican parties, it's not surprising that much of the bitter attacks are originating from those inside the GOP and its county central committee. Chris Yakis, the chairman of the Republican Central Committee, recently issued a written statement decrying Moore's change from party affiliation as, quote, an attempt to circumvent the legally established process for filling the county council seat vacated by Ms. Moore, end quote. While correct that this process has been legally established by the charter, Ziakis has neglected to lead and legally prepare his political organization to participate in that process. Cecil's former commissioner's style of government basically functioned as a pass-through between the General Assembly and the citizens. The Constitution and laws of the state of Maryland detail the procedures for filling vacancies in public office and grants authority to do so accordingly. On the other hand, the county's new charter form of government has erected a wall of autonomy between Maryland and Cecil County to govern locally, and the authority of the charter, under the authority of the charter itself. For county charter offices, there is neither a look back to state law for definition nor procedure. Charter authority, while locally autonomous and unlike Maryland law, is limited in its reach. The charter begins in section 102 by asserting, quote, the powers provided in this charter shall be exercised only by the county executive, the county council, and other officers, employees, and agents of the county. Therefore, in the vacancy provisions of the charter, the county council is only given the authority to receive the list of 3 persons, in this case from the Cecil County Republican Central Committee. Further, the charter lacks any compelling or granting authority extended beyond the reach of the county government or its agents. Victor Turbola agrees with this, and he echoed that same statement. Since the provision and authority to complete this list of 3 persons is not granted through the charter, it must therefore derive from the governing authority of the Cecil County Republican Central Committee's own constitution and bylaws. But by turning to these documents, you will find there is no provision for filling a vacancy in office. Much like the county's charter transition team combed through the Cecil County Code to correct them and make the necessary adjustments to function as a charter government, so too was the necessity of the Republican Central Committee to amend their own charter. They failed to do so. Not only did they fail to do so appropriately, but their action is tantamount to non-feasance. The deficiencies in the Central Committee were brought to the attention of the governing body, warning them.
That's your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Lobos.
name is Ron Lobis, and I live in Elkton, Maryland. 2 weeks ago, I had an opportunity to address the council people here, and I was angry about a few things that had happened leading up to the new county executive, and I hope that when I spoke before everybody, I didn't offend anybody, and if I did, I apologize. I was just upset with some things that had happened that had been pushed through by Commissioners Dunn, Brumell, and Mullen before Commissioner Mullen left office. One of the things that I was addressing had to do with bike paths, and I had mentioned about these bike paths that it was going to cost about $11,000 per mile to build these. And I guess when I was finished with my presentation and the meeting was over, I was met by Commissioner Brumell, and she graciously asked me where I got my information from. And I said, I think I got it from a website on Campaign for Liberty, but I don't remember for sure. And she said, well, I'm going to tell you something. There have been no figures published that talk about the cost of these bike paths. And I said, I think you're wrong. And Commissioner Brumell said, well, when you find these figures, will you please give them to me? And I said, no, I'm not doing your homework. Well, I had a change of heart. I did my homework, and I came in with it today, and I'm ready to present it to the council people. And if you could follow me on this, we have shared lane markings. Now let me read this. These are the fundings and partnership. This is printed by Will Mapco. Presently, Will Mapco said, presently there is no set-aside funding for the engineering, design, and construction of bicycle improvement projects. The advantage of this plan is that it allows the county and its towns to prepare for funding opportunities when they are available for projects. Many of the proposed improvements are inexpensive. I'm going to tell you how inexpensive they are very shortly. Are inexpensive and can easily be achieved in short and medium terms. The following chart presents roundabout figures from the State Highway Administration and other transportation agencies on the costs of common bicycle investments. This is Will Mapco. Shared lane markings. To do 1 mile of shared lane markings, assuming the sharrows are placed every 250 to 500 feet, $5,000 to $11,000 per mile. This is just the beginning. You have, bear with me a second here. We have bike lane striping, an additional $4,000 to $6,000 per mile. You have bike lane symbol and arrow, $1,000 to $2,000 per mile. I mean, I have a whole list, and anybody who wants one of these copies is welcome to it. I'll leave them up here. How about paved shoulders for this? Paved shoulders. A 4-foot wide paved shoulder, $71,000 per mile. Now some of you are saying, well, you know, this money's coming from the state, the federal government. There's nothing that comes out of the county budget. Who cares where it's coming from? This is taxpayer money, and that's what we always need to remember here. It's not it's not the county money, it's not the state money, it's not the federal money, it's the taxpayers' money. And that's what should be kept in the front of our minds when we vote on something like this. Get a load of this one. Bridge and overpass access. Anywhere from $20,000 to $10 million to drive your bike over a bridge. That seems like a good investment. And it depends on a retrofit of new reconstruction. Here's another good one. Bicycle lockers. And these would be placed at bicycle information centers. Now, a bicycle locker will park 2 bicycles. This bicycle locker costs between $1,000 and $4,000 to park a bicycle. Like I said, if we're going to spend money like this on bicycles, we should also have horse lanes, rickshaw lanes, lanes for people that text while they drive, maybe lanes for children who like to ride their skateboards down the street. I mean, what the heck? And there's something else you need to remember. Once these lanes are built and paved, who's going to maintain them? You need to look further down the road here. It may be state and federal money that's building these lanes, but think what the state does to us. through their mandates, they hand their expenses down to the county. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Carol Mechanic?
Harold Mechanic, 694 Kinneytown Road, Elton, Maryland. I watched the video from last Tuesday's workshop session. I was intrigued by Commissioner Brumel's accusations of being threatened by a selected group. You see, not only have I not seen you legitimately be threatened, but I've felt threatened by you personally and have witnessed you threaten many others. For example, I believe you sent Ethics Commissioner Walt Rosansky out to goad me into a fight in the eye of a security camera while you stood just out of view of it. Luckily for Commissioner Rosansky, I did not fall for the ruse, but this was a threat to the integrity of your seat and the Board of Ethics. A couple of weeks ago, I watched you shed crocodile tears over a young person's recovery from drug addiction. Yet apparently, you've ridiculed others who have rehabilitated themselves, including someone who met all conditions of probation, which was not public record, incidentally, who has gone on to become a fine upstanding citizen, contributor to the county tax base, business owner, and employer. You made this a threat against progress by these individuals. You have threatened household income countywide by driving the wedge that drove Artesian into contract cancellation, leaving us as a county holding a $40 million doo-doo bag. Literally. You led the downzoning of York building products on their upzoning requests, which will probably be tried in court. This is going to cost the county money and will be a threat to the county's budget. You helped your special interest group, ARCA, the head obstructionist in charge of the northwestern part of the county, get denied an approval for Aston Point. This threatened local builders, contractors, local building product suppliers, upscale housing and its tax base, new country club business, its revenues, new employees, and the opportunity to draw business from nearby Delaware. The unwillingness to approve the Bridge to Paradise project because of a public vendetta against Councilman Hodge and his orchestra has every citizen and visitor to the lower Elk Neck Peninsula living under the threat of a natural disaster or has recently experienced an auto accident road closure by limiting an escape route. SB 236 Tier Map 4, say no more. Councilman Dunn, he voted against his own proposal of compromise to confirm Al Wine. I think you threatened him. Although he does not have a very good record of bravery, the threat of facing his constituency has proven scary to him. Highway bike lanes, you guessed it, they threaten to raise fuel taxes to fund them to the tune of up to $11,000 per mile with no bicyclist contributions. Lowell McCoy, oh boy, your vote didn't threaten the citizens of Cecil County, it fleeced them. You see, Councilperson Brumel, to me and many others, it is you who's the threat. And now you want to threaten my First Amendment right to free speech. Councilperson Brumel, you work very hard to keep as much from public comment as you possibly can already. Closed sessions, special sessions, workshop sessions with no public comment has proven to be your trademark. This is not government by the people, it is government from the people, which threatens we the people. Patrick Henry boldly stated, "Give me liberty or give me death." I concur. I hope you see this as a threat because we will never be silent. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Bob Amato?
Robert Amato, P.O. Box 679, Perryville.
Excuse me, Mr. Monitor, could you give us your street address?
P.O. Box 679, Perryville, Maryland is my legal address.
Now, I understand, but it's citizens of the county, we have to make sure that you live in a house, not a P.O. box.
Can I? Well, never mind about that. Can anyone here verify that I live in Cecil County?
Yes.
Okay. If you want to take it up at some other point, if you want to make it, wait a minute, don't start the clock yet. You reset the shot clock. P.O. Box 679, Perryville, Maryland. I'd like to speak a little bit about vacancy on the county council. It's covered under section 209 in the county charter. Very simply, it says, when a vacancy occurs, the remaining council members within 30 days shall appoint a person to serve the unexpired term of office. The appointee shall be selected by a majority vote of the remaining council members. So I would say at this point in time, the ball's in your court. It's up to the 4 council persons to make a selection, agree to compromise on who they think would be the best person for that job. It also clearly says, if the council fails to fill a vacancy pursuant to the provisions of this section, the executive shall appoint a person to fill the vacancy. Very clear. So I don't understand all the caterwauling about change of party, resignation from church party, and trying to insert other facts into the procedure, which is pretty clear.
Thank you. That concludes public comment. Next on the agenda is report from Treasurer Feely.
To the County Council and to the cash report is as of November 30, 2012. At the end of November, we had approximately $51,793,000 in net operating cash and cash equivalents. This is an increase of approximately $10,137,000 from last month. In November, we had total receipts of $21,250,000 and disbursements of $26,412,000. We had $740,000 outstanding in those receivable and advances. Our portfolio averages between 0.14% and 0.47% in November. Our average MLGIP return was 0.14, which is the same as last month. We had 7.58% of our portfolio in MLGIP, 40% in CDs and CDRs, and 47% in money market funds. Our returns on these investments were above the state and national averages. We have earned $130,355 in interest revenue through November. It's 27% of our budget. We have $2,097,494 remaining from our 2010 bond issue, and $11,962,976 remaining from our 2012 bond issue. We have approximately $27,409,000, or 29% outstanding from our real property tax levy for this year. This is approximately the same as November of 2011. The total outstanding taxes are $30,525,000. We received an income tax payment from the state in November in the amount of $11,798,135. Our income tax receipts are 1.52% higher this year than last year, or $204,000 higher. Our next income tax receipt will be in January 2013. The county has received $888,516 of revenue from the Perryville Casino. This is 33.7% of our budget. The amount for November has been reported by the state but not yet remitted. Perryville share is $478,432 through November. This is my report.
Are there any questions from the council?
I'd like to ask you a question that's different than usually.
Okay, I'll like to answer.
Generally, do you believe that Cecil County is in a better or worse or the same fiscal condition as it was when you came on board 2 years ago?
I think it's in better condition.
And can you give me 1 or 2 reasons why?
Our fund balance has grown over those 2 years. Our cash account balances are higher now than they were 2 years ago. Our bond rating has remained unchanged, and our income tax receipts from the state increased last year, and now they're upping in this year, which means that the overall health of the county from the income tax perspective is better this year than last.
Thank you.
I have a question. I'm going to jump out there. I should know the answer before asked, but in your opinion, if we had followed through under the self-purchase and used our fund balance to purchase that building, would we have anticipated that we would have to increase taxes in the coming year?
I can't answer that question right now because the sell purchase would have had to go through the budget process first, and then we would have had to look and see how much cash we would have needed to use of fund balance, or whether we were able to borrow money to do a bond issue to do that, and what that effect that would have had. So without it going all the way through the budget process, I couldn't give you a definitive answer to that.
Okay, but the related operating costs that would have been incurred would have had another significant impact as well in funding.
It has the potential of doing that.
Yes, okay. I should have asked you first before. Thank you.
Thank you, Treasurer Freeland. Next on your agenda is consideration of Resolution 012-2012, real property tax credit for property located in Presidio Business Park. We have the Director of Economic Development, Lisa Webb, available. She would like to come forward. She would just provide just a brief overview of what this is again for the council.
Thank you for your consideration today. The enterprise zone resolution will be a document that will be required by the state in order for this property owner to receive the tax credit. So I'm actually here for Presidio LLC for the tenant who is Restoration Hardware. I believe there were some questions that you asked the last time that I presented this resolution. I've provided you with that information. I think you reviewed that this morning. So if there are any other additional questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
I think you provided us all the information we were looking for. You did provide that it was a 10 to 12 hour per hour, an hour wage jobs. And how many jobs you had told me that?
It would be over the course of 2 years and up to 200 employees.
Okay.
Okay, council, you have the resolution in front of you. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve it.
I have a motion on the floor from Councilman McCarthy to approve Resolution 01-2012. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilman Dunn. Is there any further discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to take a roll call vote for the Council Journal. McCarthy?
Aye.
Dunn?
Aye.
Brunel?
Aye.
Hodge?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, council. Have a nice holiday.
Next on your agenda are budget amendments. These budget amendments were discussed this morning during your work session, and members of the executive staff provided comment and answered questions. First is the Cecil County Public Schools amendment, requesting approval to make changes to the fiscal year 2013 operating budget for the period July, August, September, and October of 2012.
I move that we approve those budget amendments.
There's a motion on the floor to approve this budget amendment. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Your second budget amendment is number 51. This was tabled from December 4th, 2012 meeting. This is from the Public Works Roads Division regarding transferring $7,700 from surface treatment to telephone. It was explained this morning by Director Flanagan. This would be for GPS units for Public Works equipment. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept it.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I've requested further information, which I have not received as of yet. The more we learn about this, the more it changes. At first we thought it was for GPS equipment, now we're learning it's for GPS, the services, the monthly charges for the services and gathering the information, $30 per month. Which is about $2,100 for the service per year, but they're asking for $7,700. I have requested the further information of what we can, the information we can gather with the GPS system, and wanting to know how many vehicles we've already implemented the system into, wanting to know if, in looking at a local government audit website, there was a question as to if we have done our homework in getting GPS systems in all of our departments that would be able to have the same software system so that we could coordinate the information. And I did have a discussion with Treasurer Feely on this, and he brought up a few things that we could be proactive on in gathering information. Can you share?
We talked about this earlier tonight, and one of the things that Director Flanagan said this morning is it cuts down on idle time and things like that with the vehicles. So when you were asking me about, you know, the savings and everything, I said, you know, we should be able to look back as to what our fuel costs were before we instituted the GPS system, and then what the fuel costs are after the system, and see if the delta between them justifies the cost of monitoring of $30 a month for those systems.
So for that reason, I'm not gonna support this expenditure this evening, but I'm willing to revisit once I have all the information to make an educated decision.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to approve Budget Amendment 51. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Votes 2-2. Next budget amendment is number 53. From the Emergency Services Department to transfer $29,949 from server replace to machinery and equipment. This is budget for the grant awarded to the Department of Emergency Services for a server replacement for the 911 center. Is there a motion? Can I have a motion on budget amendment 53?
I make a motion that we accept budget amendment number 53.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is budget amendment 54, which is from the Emergency Services Division, also for a budget for the grant awarded to DES for a security system to back up the county's backup. This is for the Emergency Numbers System Board, and the transferring $6,778 from security to machinery and equipment. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept also budget amendment 54.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Hodge. I have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Next is budget amendment 55. Again, this is for the Department of Emergency Services to budget for a grant awarded for the aerial survey of the entire Eastern Shore region. Cecil County is serving as the project sponsor, so the Emergency Number System Board may benefit from economies of scale associated with doing one flyover for the entire region. This is transferring $838,519 from Eastern Shore Aerial to professional services. Is there a motion?
I move to approve budget amendment number FY 2013-55 to transfer money for professional services to do the aerial flyover.
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Seconded.
I have a second. Is there any further discussion?
I'd just like to say to the public that we are not spending $838,519. That this is a grant for the entire Eastern Shore, and we are sponsoring this project, so all the counties will benefit from this flyover. And it is primarily for the purposes of the emergency services and being able to give dispatch and first responders better maps to respond to emergencies. But it will also be used for many other departments, for many other management decisions. The resolution on this flyover will be so good that they'll be able to identify and map out sewer manholes and other public facilities. And it is a grant provided to the Emergency Services Division.
There's a motion to approve and a second on the floor. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Next is budget amendment number 56. This is to remove the county PAYGO budget on the upgrade greenways project and replace the budget with bond funding available for the completed cell 4 redevelopment project. This amendment also removes PAYGO funds from the completed leachate management system project and returns it to the stormwater enterprise fund balance. There are various amounts to be transferred from different PAYGO accounts listed on the budget amendment. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept it.
I have a motion from Councilman McCarthy to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Hodge. Is there any discussion?
I was going to ask Treasurer Feely, is there anything you wanted to add to this budget amendment? Any information that we might not have received already?
What this is attempting to do is take money that the county's already spent as PAYGO money and use the 2010 bond money that's still outstanding because the cell 4 redevelopment came in under budget, and use that money up for the bond money and free up the PAYGO money back to the county. That's what that's about.
Aren't we already paying interest on the bond money? We borrowed the money, so we need to put it to a good use.
That's correct.
Otherwise, we'll have cash tied up and
we have the potential of arbitrage issues.
Right, so we need to do this legally.
I think it's a very worthwhile budget amendment.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next budget amendment is number 57. This is for an initial budget for the FY 2013 tobacco grant of $1,500 submitted by the Sheriff's Office. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve budget number FY 2013-57 that transfers a grant of tobacco prevention funding to the Sheriff's Office for salaries, workers' compensation, and FICA.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second
I have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is budget amendment number 58 for the Department of Parks and Recreation to appropriate additional project open space grant funds to be used for acquisition and development projects in the FY 2013 budget. Was prepared using an estimate, so this is to complete the budget numbers. It's transferring $1,409,954 from project open space to land and project open space development in the amount of $72,741 to CIP grant expenses. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Your last budget amendment is number 59. This is also for the Department of Parks and Recreation to transfer funds to cover costs for a new heat pump at Cecil Arena, transferring $5,305 from self-funded programs to building and improvements. Is there a motion?
I move to pass it.
A motion from Councilman McCarthy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Hodge. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. That concludes the meeting of the County Council of Cecil County. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I move to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
No.
Sorry. Opposed?
No.
Okay, so it's 2-2.
Have we not completed everything on the agenda?
we would request that, we have a commitment that, we set a date to review the names put forward by the Central Committee before the January 3rd date.
This sounds like 11th hour maneuver. I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I have a motion on the floor to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
First and a second to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? All in favor to adjourn the meeting?
Say aye.
Aye.
There you go.
Opposed?
No.
No. We can do this all night, guys.
Why'd you wait till the last minute?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion that, we schedule, we have a commitment to review the names put forth by the Central Committee, whether it be by email with response or by formal meeting, before the January 3rd date, that we at least have an up or down vote on the names put forward by the Republican Central Committee.
There's a motion on the floor from Commissioner, Councilwoman Brunel to move forward with, considering the names that were put forward by the Republican Central Committee for the District 2 Council seat. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Councilman Dunn. Is there any further discussion?
We had this discussion during our work session. We already had a vote on this same issue during our work session. And I know the outcome. But I have to say, and the reason that I'm opposed to this is because when I read the charter, and I'm going to read one sentence, if the council member vacating the office is not a member of a political party, the council shall appoint the person it deems best qualified to hold office regardless of his or her party affiliation, if any, provided the appointment meets the qualifications and the residency required or provided by this section. The fact is that I believe that we should have, weeks ago, provided a process for the advertising and discussion and evaluation of all of the qualified candidates that are willing to come forward and put their names to the council for consideration. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I begged the council members for weeks to let's move forward with the process so that we can promote this process, ask for applicants, evaluate applicants, and make a decision on the best qualified. And we, the council, can make that decision on what are those qualifications. We have never discussed what are the best qualifications for being a council member. We have never discussed the process. We've never advertised this position. We have refused to discuss our options as far as how we're going to select this replacement. It's now at the last meeting of the year, and I am not going to move forward with discussing only the Central Committee's recommendations. We could have evaluated many options, many different applications, and we refused to do that. I'm not going to move forward today to limit all my options to 3 recommendations of the Central Committee. And as I said before, I understand Joe's position. I understand, but I have to tell you, from what I heard, the Central Committee was not looking for the best qualified person to serve the county. They were looking for the best Republican that they felt would serve on the council. And I believe that we should have the most qualified person, which means that they're committed, they have life experiences, they have qualifications to serve on this council. And we have not tried to identify that person, and we haven't worked toward that person, and I am not going to move forward with just talking about the Central Committee's recommendations.
Quiet, please.
Once again, Commissioner Hodges' only options are what he suggests. If we don't compromise with what he wants, he's not gonna, there's nothing else he will consider. And for, excuse me. When the option we believe in our heart, the correct process we're supposed to be following is the Republican Central Committee process, which the voters voted for, then that's what we have to follow. There is an option here where you can at least consider the names and give it an up or down vote. What is the harm in that? Whereas the harm in us considering unaffiliated would take away the option if we further, in the future, chose to challenge this in court. What is the harm in at least considering the three names? Could you tell me that?
I don't want to consider three. I wanted to consider 30 or whoever wanted to apply. And we didn't allow that.
So you're saying it's all or nothing. Why can't we just consider the three names and give it an up or down vote?
For 3 weeks, you refused to even talk about it. For 3 weeks, you refused to
Once
even
again,
allow
you're
discussion.
reinventing history according to the way you would like it to be. And I have many times told you, I'm sorry, but we're not going to reinvent the process as to how Mr. Hodge wants it to be.
Quiet, please, quiet.
Please.
Discussion among the council, thank you.
We're
Public
functioning
comment.
by the new charter. There's nothing illegal about this procedure or incorrect about the procedure. And as Mr. Hodge previously stated, he's asked since the very first day of this council that we basically expand and make it available to every citizen in this county that they can apply, and it's been stopped every step of the way.
So, Mr. McCarthy, what is the procedure? It's silent on the process that don't interrupt.
No,
Wait,
don't interrupt me.
I'm gonna keep talking until I
Please
say
read
what
your
I have
charter.
to say. I'm tired of being interrupted by you.
I'm sick and tired of you being tired of
Quiet,
being interrupted.
council, there's a motion on the floor. There's a motion on the floor and a second. Would anyone like to call for the question?
No, I would like to finish my thought because it was significant that there is not a process delineated for unaffiliated. How many names are brought forward? How long is the time for reviewing those names?
Mrs. Brumell, if I might refresh your memory, only today did I hear about anybody from the Republican Central Committee. Number two, today I heard about 3 or 4 other people that had not been disclosed. Now I might ask, Mrs. Rinkerman, if possible, would you please read paragraph C, which defines what should happen in this case.
Out of the charter? Or?
And while we're waiting for her to look that up, I want to point out that he did not get his email because the CC.gov account for some reason was not set up. He did receive.
I have a telephone, I've been here, I've got every other correspondence that's sent to me. You send it to an email I haven't even activated yet, and now you seem to be quite upset. If you do this, why did you not make it available?
Council, please, I'm going to read section C. When succeeding a party member, the appointee shall be selected from a list of 3 persons submitted to the council by the County Central Committee of the political party affiliated with the person vacating office, provided the list is submitted within 30 days from the date a vacancy occurs. If no such list is submitted within 30 days, or if the council member vacating office is not a member of a political party, the council shall appoint the person it deems best qualified to hold office, regardless of his or her party affiliation, if any, provided the appointee meets the qualifications and residency requirements and provided in subsection B of this section of the charter.
That seems very clear to me.
There's a motion and a second on the floor.
I call the vote.
I have a call on for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion dies 2-2. Do you want to adjourn the meeting?
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I have a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No action? Motion dies 2-2.
Attorney Wilson, could you advise what we do in a situation like this?
Well, I'm not smart enough. I would recommend two of you to get up and walk away, then we wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, no quorum.
We wouldn't have a quorum.
But we've already initiated the meeting. How can you break the quorum after the meeting has already been initiated? Once again, I'm questioning your expertise.
Let me turn this off. You want to talk? We can talk right here.